What's up, guys? Welcome back to the College Loop. I believe it's the fifth episode, and I am again joined by it's a terrible intro starting off. Me, Dylan Larck at you boy the tank on Twitter, joined again by Harrison Tarr at by Harrison Tarr on Twitter, and below me, as always, is Daniel Locke at Daniel J Locke on Twitter as well. How y'all doing, guys?
Very, very good. Excited to talk some sports here on New Year's Eve. It's a very rainy night where I'm at. I don't know about you guys, but
It is very rainy and windy where I am at.
I hate to rub it in your face, but it's a beautiful night here on Long Beach Island in New Jersey. We got low 50s and you can see stars for miles. So
It hit the 70s down here, but then it quickly turned to cloudy and rainy. But last night, Auburn women's basketball lost in I don't want to call it a blowout.
it was a blowout.
It was a blowout.
call it what it is. Yeah.
A blowout game in Oxford, and I'm gonna let Daniel take the floor here. He was able to watch the game, so Daniel, just hits with your analysis of it.
Sure. So one thing that's been going very well for Auburn lately and really was able to springboard the winning streak is they would always have 3 or 4 players score in double digits. Last night, that was not the case. Aisha Coulibaly was the only player to score in double digits with 13. Marshawn Bostic had 9. And then Carissa Richardson at 8. Romy Levy at 7. And then nobody else broke 5. The only other people who scored, period, was Sydney Shaw with 4 points. And then Jakayla Johnson, Maya Pratcher, and Caitlin Duhan all had 2 points. So Sanaya Wells and Precious Johnson did not score any. Now, that's just not a recipe for success for this Auburn team, especially with Sanaya Wells. And obviously, the team really, really missed Honesty Scott Grayson. She just showed how important she really is to the whole operation. And then another thing I want to note, they went 0 from 10 from three-point range. Like, that's just not what we've come to expect from this Auburn team at all. And then they only stole the ball from Ole Miss 6 times, which is another thing that doesn't really add up to this Ole Miss team. Then a few other things I saw that I wanted to point out. They only scored 8 points off turnovers, which, like I just said with the steal thing, normally they do a lot better in that department, and only 20 points in the paint. And that's another thing. Normally, half their points come from the paint. Well, I guess half their points basically did come from the paint because they only scored 47 last night. But I'm used to 80-point games from this team, about 40 points in the paint. They're really, really good at getting the ball inside. And the last thing that I really noticed was the depth did not contribute like it normally did. I went ahead and broke down the scoring from each player, but normally this team's good for about 25 to 30 bench points. Last night they only got 15. Now, if you look at the other side for Ole Miss, Angel Baker went off for 18 points. Snoop Collins closely followed with 15, and then Madison Scott scored 13. And pretty much all the things that Auburn is normally pretty good at, Ole Miss dominated at. The Rebels had 52 points in the paint and 19 points off turnovers, 13 fast break points, 21 bench points, 12 second chance points. And the last thing I'm going to note about this one is Auburn did not hold the lead ever.
Yeah, that is a big fat rip, and the analysis of that game does not get any better than what Daniel just said. I know, Tar, you're going to hit up what's going on with Honesty Scott Grayson real quick.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a quick breakdown before I get into that. Kind of to Daniel's credit, kind of put this in the big picture to piggyback off of him. Also, Daniel will never plug himself. I'll go ahead and plug for him. Check out his post-game wrap-up. Did a great job for the Auburn Daily, filling in for my typical role while I'm here vacationing. So Daniel, thank you for that. Did a great job there. And kind of transitioning into that, I'm going to plug myself too. I did release my non-conference midseason superlatives for women's basketball 2 days ago. I wrote that in the airport. I wanted to get it done anyways. No better time than then, right? And I did have Honesty Scott Grayson as this team's midseason MVP because she is. And her absence last night, no doubt. I mean, it makes the game planning a whole lot easier, right? You really just have to defend Aisha Coulibaly and Romy Levy depending on the night, which, I mean, Ole Miss got better on the offseason, and then they executed that game plan. From what I've heard, Honesty Scott Grayson's injury is not necessarily playing related. It should not withhold her from long-term SEC play, but she is limited, listed as out indefinitely. As far as what I'm okay to release right now, from what I've been told, it does not seem to be season ending, so that's a plus for Auburn. and I think that she should be back sooner than later. That's about, I know Dylan, I know that's not quite as much as we'd like to be able to share, but that's about all I can share from what I've been informed. The good news is it does not seem detrimental to her personal health and her. I mean, we're going to be talking here in a month or two about her WNBA draft stock. So lots of encouraging things on that note, and to kind of chime in my 2 cents worth when I get to go back and rewatch this film, which I'm going to do after they play again on the plane ride home on Monday. And Daniel, I'm gonna have to talk to you about how busy you are tomorrow. But anyways, we'll talk about that later. But excuse me. This is SEC play. This team is young, and they needed to kind of get punched in the mouth, right? So I wouldn't hit the panic button. I saw someone in the Auburn women's basketball mentions yesterday saying that Coach Jay was a terrible hire and that Cohen needs to reevaluate. And I want to tell you, this Twitter account has like 56 followers, so I don't take you seriously. And if you're watching this and you want to unfollow and unsubscribe, by all means, do it. I don't give a damn. I really don't. That's just a horrific take. And honestly, just delete your account. I'll go that far, guys. Y'all, I think y'all would agree and back me up there. Shut up.
That's criminally bad. And flashback to January of last year. I said this, we were talking about this on TNT in the morning. That's a throwback right there. And you said, and I'm going to retweet this, if anyone thinks that Coach Jay's hire was a mistake, come to the Weagle/Eli suite, and I'll make sure Tarr's there to talk to you, because that's just terrible.
Well, it seemed like we talked about, words are hard. On Scott Grayson, you said no timetable on when she will be back, and when does women's basketball come up next? When do they play next?
New Year's Day against Missouri.
Gotcha. And if you heard that, Tarr's gonna be watching film for both this game and Auburn, Florida, on the plane ride back.
I have a lot of film to watch on the plane.
You're gonna have a very unfun plane ride back.
No, I'm a film junkie. I like this. It's okay.
Yeah, but you're also an Auburn fan, so you're not gonna enjoy to watch either one of them.
I can do my job objectively. I think I do my job objectively pretty well.
Yeah, you do. But to transition over to football, we had another Auburn Tiger declare for the NFL draft today. Wide receiver, fifth-year senior Shedrick Jackson just declared for the NFL draft. And just to read off some of his stats from his career, in 2021, he has the best statistical season with 527 yards. But his career receiving yards is 874. He has one career touchdown, and he has 3 career tackles.
Can I speak first? Can I sub myself in really quickly?
Yes.
First off, I didn't really know that Shed had another option other than declaring for the draft. I think he's out of eligibility. As a matter of fact, I'm positive that he is. And
did he get redshirted freshman year?
Yeah, but he's no, I don't think so. I don't know. I couldn't. I off the top of my head, he may, if he has a year left, it's 1. But that being said, this whole Shedrick Jackson's tenure at Auburn was disappointing to say the least. He's a legacy. Obviously, the last name carries a lot of weight in the Auburn community. Malzahn guy, you kind of thought that maybe there was a ton of within like internal connection that would really build up Shed. Great frame, really good film from high school actually. And then he got to college. He wasn't a great route runner. He's not that fast. And he really kind of didn't really establish himself anywhere other than an outside receiver. And I think that, if he would have put on a little weight and kind of became like a flex landing king-esque, and now there's only one Lando, like we said the other day, that might have served him a little better to play out that slot/tight end kind of role, right? But it really just never panned out at Auburn for him. And it looked for a minute there in 2021 that he was going to be Bo's go-to guy. And then Bo got hurt. And I think there's probably more talent there than we know. And I'm being sincere about Shedrick Jackson, because I don't really know that he ever was really set up for success. So maybe some NFL team will get a UDFA that is a diamond in the rough. Maybe some XFL team will grab him and he'll ball out, or maybe he'll be in the CFL and be a wide receivers coach at Auburn in the next half decade.
I thought that he was really going to come into his own this year. Your high school quarterback is on the team with you, especially once Robbie kind of moved into the QB1 role. I was kind of thinking, I wrote an article about this, and I was thinking, like, okay, this is going to be the time. Like, this is boom or bust time for Shed Jackson. He's either going to go off 12 catches for 100 yards and 2 tutties, or he's going to show, like, okay, he really is just that guy who is dependable, but he's not going to put up flashy numbers for you. and I was proven on the latter on that.
And I didn't think that when you put that article out, I read it, by the way. I do read your work. I read all of y'all's work. When you put that out, I kind of bought in. Like it made sense.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I mean, hell, he's a Jackson.
Yeah.
That's and there had to be an element of that at Auburn for sure. Like, when is it going to happen? But it really is, and I say this from the humility side of sports. His tenure at Auburn was a bummer. I don't know a better way to put it. Just kind of a bummer and a letdown. But like we said,
I remember. Sorry, Tarr.
I was just going to close out. Frame's still good. Someone may take a look and say, let's see what we can do with this guy.
The first time that Shed Jackson's name ever popped up on my radar was when he committed to Auburn. I was like, okay, that's cool. We'll have 2 Hoover High School receivers in this recruiting class, and then obviously George Pickens flipped to Florida, or excuse me, Georgia. Sorry, but yeah, that's probably the most press that Shed ever really got.
Yeah.
Which I don't necessarily think that's right, but it's just kind of the way it was.
My first memory of Mr. Shed Jackson was he was in my English Composition 1 class freshman year. And that's about as I was as starstruck as I got with him throughout his career as Auburn. I shared a class with him. But to move from one Auburn receiver to a former Auburn receiver, Marcus Davis, who is now the wide receivers coach for Auburn, which I think is a huge get.
Yeah, I love it.
I know a lot of people probably didn't watch a lot of Georgia Southern games over the past year, but he had a lot of receivers go off. He had 3 receivers go for over, I think, 700 yards. Am I not that I'm remembering properly? And I think 2 or 3 of them had over 6 touchdowns.
In a team that was still in the semi-recovery phase from the triple option. They're not that far removed.
I think they are a year removed from the triple option because this is their first year with Clay Helton.
Correct.
And if you didn't know that, Clay Helton, former USC coach, is now the coach at Georgia Southern.
Correct.
That one surprised me almost as much as Terry Bowden at University of Louisiana Monroe.
I love Terry Bowden.
I love this hire. Yeah. It felt like a good opportunity to bring one, a talented coach to coach receivers at Auburn, and 2, bring another Auburn guy back, which it's kind of a tried and true method. I don't want to sound like a homer, but let's look at the guys that are leading the charge in recruiting right now. Let's look at Zach Etheridge. Let's look at Travon Reed. I sound like I'm being dramatic. I'm not. Look at the guys that are in on this recruiting class that has skyrocketed. To give Freeze credit where credit's due. But I think this is a large part of, getting talented receivers, getting development. This is a guy that he's an on-the-field coach. He can recruit. He can go on the road.
Yeah.
It's a win-win for Auburn.
And you bring up a Zach Etheridge and a Travon Reed. Can't forget Cadillac Williams is also on that roster.
How did I forget the most obvious?
I have a picture frame and 2 articles of clothing with Cadillac's name on them. I need a jersey at this point.
I shook his hand for the first time after the basketball game on Wednesday night.
You better not have washed it since.
Oh, I like hygiene.
Thank you, Daniel.
I wish I'd gotten a picture, but I didn't want to be rude.
Hey, I know high five Cam Newton.
I know we have to keep moving, but I have to ask, Daniel, was that one of the more firm handshakes you've ever had? I just feel like he's got a good firm handshake. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it just felt genuine because I shook Brian Harson's hand one time and no hate, but it was just kind of
no hate.
Cadillac, firm grasp. He looked me in the eye and he said, "What's your name?" I was like, I had a name tag on, but I didn't. If it was Harson, I'd been like, I'm Daniel. It's very nice to meet you, and a privilege to meet you.
The college loop has gone off the rails.
Yes.
All right, so moving on to more pressing matters.
That was important. No, that was important.
To more pressing matters than Daniel's handshakes experience with Auburn coaches.
This has got to be pressing then.
So me and Tarr have been dealing with constant migraines from from every quarterback that enters the transfer portal nowadays have been inked to Auburn in some way, shape, or form. Tanner Mordecai entered the portal for all of an hour and a half and committed to Wisconsin, but for the hour and a half, you would have swore up and down that he was coming to the Plains. Same thing with Sam Hartman, who committed to Notre Dame.
Wait,
now
is
we have
Mordecai officially to Wisconsin?
Yes.
Okay.
I think he legitimately just like transfer Wisconsin.
Okay.
Wait, Sam Hartman to Notre Dame?
Yeah,
that
Sam
was,
Hartman, Notre Dame.
That was
I
within
missed
like
that one. Oh my gosh. Yes, I knew about that one. Okay.
I don't like Notre Dame, but they're making it really hard not to like them. I like Marcus Freeman and I like Sam Hartman.
That's what I've been telling you.
But their fans are just the worst.
I'm the nicest guy you know.
You're not a Notre Dame fan.
Yeah, he is.
Partially.
You're also a Saints fan, so just not bring that up.
Carry on.
So with quarterbacks currently in the portal, Michael Pratt has not entered the portal yet, but we are expecting him to, I presume, from Tulane. Grayson McCall is in the portal.
Let me talk about Pratt for 1 second.
Oh, you want me to just name all of them before?
Let me talk about Pratt. This is just really important. A quick blurb before we get into it. This is not a film breakdown because I gotta watch this film. Damn it. Anyways, I'm telling you that if we had a no context, the college loop segment on Twitter, I would be a highlight reel for this week. There's a large NIL deal that Tulane just got done with Pratt, and there's going to be a lot of smoke around that. If you think On2 Victory is not richer than Tulane, you're wrong. Carry on, Dylan.
And of course, the last one that we're going to talk about is also someone we've talked about all the time, Spencer Sanders, who Tarr has convinced himself that he will be a fit in the Auburn Hugh Freeze system. And of course, there's Robbie Ashford and Holden Jarner, who are on Auburn's roster. But the goal, I believe, this offseason, is to pick up a transfer quarterback, either to start for a year and develop Robbie, or to have sit behind Robbie and let Robbie develop by playing, which I think would be a Michael Pratt situation. I don't think Michael Pratt would start over Robbie Ashford. Spencer Sanders, I think that would be a very good quarterback battle. And then, of course, with Grayson McCall, I think he would just be the starter unless Robbie just outperformed him this completely in spring.
Sorry. If I may, if we have time, I went to the Birmingham Bowl the other night, and mainly because I wanted to see Grayson McCall play. I just wanted to get some, I guess it's not film because I watched it in person.
We had boots on the ground.
We had boots on the ground. So I was at the game, and he only played for 3 drives. But the 3 drives where he was quarterbacking for Coastal, it was a well-oiled machine. ECU couldn't stop him. Then they moved to their backup, and they scored 1 more touchdown the rest of the game. So it really goes to show that he really was the heart and soul of that offense, and it truly moved through him. So he can lead an offense is the biggest conclusion I came to.
To build off of that, Daniel, and Dylan, if I'm cutting you off, I'll be quick. We talk about this a lot, Bill, you and I do. And Daniel, I know you've heard me say it, so I'm blue in the face. There's also an element of some guys just being winners, and Grayson McCall is just a winner. He's got all the talent in the world. What you need, he can plug into any system, and I think he gets better under the Freeze offense.
I think so too.
And gets better with the weapons around him for sure. Nothing, not to take anything away from Isaiah Likely, and actually the receiving core they had that was pretty good last year. But I think that there's an element of he's got we say all the time, he's got that dog in it. The kid's just a winner. He doesn't care if he's not supposed to be. He just is.
Very true. You bring up Isaiah Likely, very athletic, fast tight end, where Grayson McCall had his best statistical season with Isaiah Likely. And if you look at Auburn's roster, there's 2 Isaiah Likeleys on this team now. One being Rivaldo Fairweather and the other being, of course, Lando. I think Grayson McCall, if Robbie's going to have an outstanding career at Auburn, but I think given the option between Robbie Ashford and Grayson McCall raises the ceiling for Auburn next year, especially with weapons like Landon King, who I think is going to outperform our expectations under Hugh Freeze.
Yeah, go ahead and quote that one for the Instagram.
Will do.
It's not a hot take.
Agree.
You're right, but that was a perfect way to wrap that up, or to put that up.
And especially with Rivaldo Fairweather, I'm loving Fairweather. I'm gonna need a jersey
Did you watch his film, bro?
Dude, I love him. And I think that Tarr, I'm gonna let you talk about Spencer Sanders because I know you're a little biased towards Spencer Sanders a little bit.
And I'll be quick because I talked about it the last episode.
Yeah, but with Grayson McCall, when you think of a Hugh Freeze-led offense, you think of quarterbacks like Bo Wallace and Chad Kelly, who both had those games where they just went complete dog on defenses.
X Games.
And exactly. And the two games where you can remember Chad Kelly and Bo Wallace having crazy numbers in was against Alabama and against better Alabama defenses, actually.
Yes.
And you look at Grayson McCall, and you cannot tell me with like Michael Pratt, he's kind of a dual threat. He's a pro style quarterback. He's more of a Bo Nix type beat in a sense. You know what I mean? He's got the same kind of build. He plays like Bo Nix. I've watched him play. He's more of a passer than Bo is, but
I wouldn't compare him to Bo Nix because Bo Nix is way better than Pratt. But
play style wise, you compare NFL draft guys to other NFL guys, but I don't think Mitch Trubisky is any better than like
you're right.
Whoever you got compared to.
The MVP, bro.
You're right.
Jake has one now.
But you watch Grayson McCall play, and Tarr got on to me for saying this in last episode. I think Grayson McCall is a better quarterback than Bo Nix. And it could be wrong. It could be.
Flip that one too.
Dylan, I don't know, man.
Okay, think about put him on Auburn's team. I think.
Okay.
Keep it rolling.
Okay. Grayson McCall is a dual threat quarterback. He is a dual threat. This man will run the ball, and he is not afraid to get hit. He will run people over, and he has a great deep ball. No, Grayson McCall would be one of the top quarterbacks. He had one of the best, not one of the best, but he have a great 1-year season at Auburn, which would lead perfectly into Robbie Ashford's two more years starting, where Robbie will be much improved and he'll have learned a lot more from Grayson McCall, who is an veteran quarterback.
And we could have all of that and more if only sports management was part of the Harvard School of Business.
I'm just saying, he's only going to be here for a year.
We all have his major. He's not coming.
I will say this much, Daniel, as I'm going to, Dylan, permission to transition from McCall to Sanders
yes,
with a bridge, with a caveat. I don't know how much you and I have talked recently. Locke, we'll jump on a call and I'll fill you in. There's traction. There's serious traction from McCall to Auburn. And that's a large part of the reason that I'm taking 6 or 7 Tylenol a day. I'm kidding. Mom, don't worry. I'm not taking too many non-prescription medications. But it's part of my migraine. And another part of my migraine is the fact that I got wind yesterday, rumors from a colleague is a hell of a stretch. But a guy I know that runs the college football edits page he firmly believes that there are rumors. Dylan may have just learned that I know the guy who runs college football edits. Trending toward Spencer Sanders being a quote unquote likely land at Auburn. And we talked about
the Red Sox are going to sign Aaron Judge tomorrow.
Well, I think there's more traction there.
I think you'd go to a better team anyways, but continue.
I think that there's more traction for Sanders to Auburn than there might be Judge for Red Sox. But the fit makes sense. I don't know if you've listened yet, Daniel. I did comp him to Bo Nix a little bit. Bo Nix with less legs, maybe a little more accurate arm. I don't know. Bo got better this year, so I really can't say much.
Well, did he get better or did he go to the Pac-12?
That's a whole different. When we're down on content, we'll talk about it.
Okay, sounds good.
Shoot,
all this Bo Nix slanders coming out after I got on to for comparing someone to Bo Nix. This is heresy to the host.
I also just gave away our secrets for when we're down on content. Sorry, guys. But I kind of comped him. I think he fits well. There's a trend there. I called some other folks. It's 50-50. I think that there's a very not much a non-zero chance Spencer Sanders winds up at Auburn. And I don't think if McCall's here, I think if McCall gets eliminated sooner than later, I think that Sanders definitely will take an OB. As a matter of fact, I know he's taking an OB in January. Well, don't know that. Sounds like he's taking an OB in January. And I think that there's a very strong chance that he wants to be at Auburn. I think a lot of people are excited with what Freeze is doing. So there's a strong chance there, but you've been preaching it. People have reached out to me, Daniel, and they've agreed with you about the Sanders opportunity. Specifically, I want to shout out Claiborne Brown for listening to every one of our episodes. He brought up a great point to me the other day, talking about what Daniel said. A QB battle between Robbie Ashford and Spencer Sanders may be exactly what Robbie Ashford needs.
Yeah.
And
I just don't want a TJ Finley type situation where he just kind of knows he has the job.
Right. No,
And
100%.
then-
And
did TJ Finley ever think he had the job?
I think he
for
did.
sure.
Absolutely.
Because especially once Zach Calzada wasn't playing because I think his surgery got botched. That's my unofficial guess on what happened with him. And that's why he wasn't – that's a story for another time. Anyway, so at that point there was no serious competition until he just came out and quite literally and figuratively dropped the ball. So, yeah, I don't think that mentally he thought that the job was in jeopardy at all.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Daniel there, but that's my kind of wrap up on Sanders. I know I kind of got a little off track there, but I will be watching more of his film on Monday, and if I see something that I think is really worth comping, I'll talk to you on Tuesday. Kid won a lot of bowl games. That'd be new for Auburn.
Yeah.
Did he win a lot of bowl games? Didn't Oklahoma State just lose? I guess where they just lost.
But he didn't play.
They haven't played yet?
No, but Sanders didn't play for Oklahoma State.
Oh, that's right.
He's in the portal.
I'm gonna say for a graphic.
Mike Gundy said, "Kiss my bullet goodbye."
I'll never forget last year's Fiesta Bowl. That was
that was wild. Just to go around the horn, and for a graphic's sake, I'm gonna just who do you want to be under center game 1 for the Auburn Tigers? Daniel.
Grayson McCall.
Grayson McCall. Tarr.
I think that for longevity's sake, and I'm gonna have a two-part answer. Longevity's sake, I think you actually want Robbie Ashford for an immediate success. I think Grayson McCall, assuming that happens. I think that there's, and I've talked about it. I've said it a lot. I'm gonna stick to it. I'm gonna stick to my guns. I think there's a ton of value, and this can be the quote. I think there's a ton of value in Robbie Ashford playing all of 2023 in terms of preparation for 2024.
All right. I'm going to say I want Grayson McCall taking the first snap for the Auburn Tigers. So that's 2 McCalls, 1 Robbie. I don't think you can go wrong with Robbie. I love Robbie Ashford. And I think that it'd be very beneficial if he did start all the season, but I also think it'd be very beneficial if he did have a quarterback like Grayson McCall. If it did come down, and if we do an episode after Spencer Sanders commits, I think that personally the better option is Robbie Ashford between the two. Like if I were to rank them and adding Pratt and God forbid any other quarterback entering the portal, it'd go McCall should be the first option starting. 2 should be Robbie. 3 Spencer Sanders. 4 just whoever gets added. Michael Pratt continue Holden Jarner whatever he decides to do in his future. But yeah, 2 McCalls and a Robbie, which I think are the 2 best of all of the options.
I would agree with that, and I think we're getting close to that being the case. So I'd be very interested. It would not surprise me if by Tuesday's episode, which by the way, Happy New Year to our listeners because this is coming out on New Year's Day.
It's coming out on New Year's Eve.
It's Thursday. Is it coming out on Saturday?
Yeah.
This is all news to me, bro. Hey, yo. I thought it's coming out on Sunday. Happy early New Year. By Tuesday's episode, I think we will have a clear understanding. And I said this on Tuesday, so I'm sorry, folks. Or on Thursday, so I'm sorry, folks. But I would not be surprised if by next week we have a real understanding of what's going to happen, or at least OBs, right?
Yeah, and you can fully expect. We said last week in April is A-Day.
Right.
It's going to be packed. So get your tickets as soon as possible.
As long as it's better attended than last year, I'll be happy.
And I'll go ahead and tease it, and I'll go ahead and break it to these guys, live pitch it. We will record in Auburn, Alabama the weekend of A-Day.
Yep. Hopefully at Moe's Barbecue.
Who knows?
No, not official. But
just going around the horn again, who's winning the playoff games tomorrow? Give me the 2 winners. I'm going to go Georgia, Michigan.
Retweet.
Ohio State, Michigan.
Ohio State, Michigan.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I am considering going to that game. I want to so bad.
Boots on the ground. But we're running out of time here on the show. Thank you all for listening. I'm Dylan Larck, at your boy the Tank on Twitter. Harrison Tarr, by Harrison Tarr on Twitter, and Daniel J. Locke on Twitter. Thank you all for listening.